Another National Football League season has begun. Lives won't be the same until February, and the passion of a nation has everyone talking. Not about the games, mind you, rather about a simmering, nagging, and seemingly never-ending saga over the New England Patriots, cheating, cover-ups, and a commissioner that to some has lost all credibility and should lose his job. Only one man can properly delve into the madness and make sense of it all. He is the man who invented the concept of commentating on and following sports business, the Bard himself, the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Professor, it comes out that ESPN has all of this. Wait a minute now. I'm pointing right back at you now. ESPN has this report. They got Spygate. They got it nailed. They got all these sources. I know you read it. As soon as you finished that, did you go, nailed it, or go, we got to talk?
We got to talk, but I'm upset at you because we were outside of Gillette Stadium last week, you remember?
Yep.
And we said, we promised each other this would be the last conversation about this until
we
next
can't
year.
do it, though. We can't do that. You know that that's impossible.
Hey, don't I know that? Don't Roger Goodell's people know that? It's a $27 billion potential industry in the next 15 years that is now hamstrung by the paralyzing of the brand because this issue just won't go away. And so do we take those sources on face value? Do we have an independent investigation? If Wells is hired as an independent investigator, that's not independent. Who does the investigation? We can't just, as legal analysts, take an ESPN investigation, even if they say they've nailed it as gospel. So this is not going to go away. And one thing it won't do is completely die just because the kickoff is tonight.
Okay, but what about all of these various different allegations here? The team owners were upset at the way the Pats were punished for admitting the videotape. Belichick admitted the team taped signals at more than 40 games over 7 seasons, and Pats employees were going into opposing locker rooms to steal play sheets. Now, look, it's all anonymous sources, but you got to admit, Rick, ESPN usually won't go with something like this unless they got it nailed, right?
Well, maybe, but I'm not going to go there because my legal training doesn't allow me to do that.
But it does seem pretty damning, though. I mean, understanding that you can't talk about the legalese, but when you have all this isn't just one kid basically deflating footballs here. You now have an in-depth investigation, and people in New England are screaming right now. They're saying this is old stuff. We knew it already. All you're doing is you hate the New England Patriots, and that's why you do it. But don't you want to find the truth?
Yeah, the Patriot fans are amongst the most loyal in all of professional sports. We all understand that. So, we're not going to go to the Patriot fan to get an objective assessment of this. And yes, we do want the truth. And I understand the value of saying there is a body of work, there is a trend, there's some consistency here. But let's name the unnamed sources. Let's find out what the investigation says before we put the dirt on the Patriots. And by the way, remember, I'm a Dolphin fan, so I'm giving the Patriots an unusual benefit of the doubt here.
Well, here's something else. Mike Reese is an old friend of mine. He now works for ESPNBoston.com. The guy knows the Patriots, has followed them for many years here. He works for ESPN Boston. After this story comes out, he writes a reaction piece and says, wait a minute, security's real tight throughout the stadium. Don't you think many people, if any, are casually walking into the visitors' locker room? And let's just say they are. Who leaves play sheets around? He's poking holes in the ESPN report. So don't you think that right now this is what we need to do is focus on this, and what the NFL should be doing as well, trying to get to the bottom of this?
Yeah, well, listen, the timing could be better because remember, beginning of July, we all said, let's get the ruling, let's get the appeal done. So by the time training camp opens, the Brady stuff is done. Now we have Judge Berman less than a week ago, and we have this ongoing investigation. And the answer is it shouldn't just die because the footballs are kicked off and the Steelers and the Patriots. But thankfully, we have other things to do than just focus on this. So I think we need to have it both ways. A reasoned, objective assessment about what we've heard in the frenzy of the last couple of days, but also let's get on with some football.
In your opinion, is this just ESPN taking advantage of the media possibilities here and dredging up everything we knew before, or is this original?
I think it may be a little of both, because the bottom line is ESPN is not going to invent something out of whole cloth. The timing is interesting because, Roger Goodell is on the press conference yesterday, or the interview, talking about his mistakes on an ESPN-branded interview show. And now we have an issue of all of these other things that are raising today. Why today? Well, it's because the peg is the beginning of the NFL season. That's the answer there.
Here's the next thing. Seattle Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman, he says, wait a minute, let's downplay this. Everybody does things a little differently, but at the end of the day, it is handled between the lines. Look, Rick, you and I have been around the National Football League. We know these people. We've been around the games for a lot of years. Can we just say flat out here, look, there's a little bit of this that happens on every single team, whether it's checking the air pressure on the footballs, changing the cleats, doing something here, videotaping this. The Patriots may be caught cheating, but everybody does it at one time or another.
Hey, wait a second. I remember years ago, and so does Don Shula, when the Patriots won 3-0 up in Foxborough, and there was a snowplow coming out to clear the play.
But that wasn't cheating. That wasn't cheating. The referees allowed them to do it.
You see, all right, so here's exactly the point, and I think this is really important. Let's find out what it is, and we can put it in a category. Is it holding? Is it not tucking your jersey in? Is it looking the other way? Is it kicking the football after the line judge has said it? You know, those are relatively harmless. Let's do whatever we can to gain an advantage. Then there is the spying and cheating and stealing stuff. We don't know if that even happened, but that's in a different category. But let's not talk about what's right or what's wrong until we absolutely know the facts. We may never know them all, but let's get them.
We're never going to hear the end of this, are we, Rick?
No, I promise next week, do we talk about football or something else?
No, we may have to talk about something else. But you know darn well that by then we'll be after a weekend of games. Everybody will be talking about it. Win, lose, draw makes no difference. We'll now be looking for cheating in every single hole, in every single corner of every single locker room. And if we look hard enough, we can find it. We know that. Right?
I'm going to the holes, the corners, and the locker rooms right now. I can't wait. It's a beautiful thing.
I don't even want to hear about that. That's a little more information than I think we really needed to know, but that's quite all right. Rick Horrow, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you real soon. It goes without saying that we've not heard the end of this. If you're a Patriots fan, you say it's all lies. If you hate the Patriots, you say it's all truth. Stay with us. More truth right here on The Hard Line.